The 2010 FIFA World Cup qualification competition was a series of tournaments organized by the 6 FIFA confederations. Each confederation the AFC, CAF, CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, OFC, and UEFA was allocated a certain number of the 32 places at the tournament. A total of 205 teams entered the qualification competition, with South Africa, as the host, qualifying for the World Cup automatically. The first qualification matches were played on August 25, 2007 and qualification concluded on November 18, 2009. Overall, 2341 goals were scored over 852 matches. Entrants: at the close of entries on March 15, 2007, 204 football associations had entered the preliminary competition, 203 out of the 207 FIFA members at the time, and the Montenegro team, which later became FIFA's 208th member. The final number of teams entered breaks the previous record of 199 entrants set during the 2002 FIFA World Cup. 4 FIFA members failed to register for the tournament by March 15, 2007, Bhutan, Brunei, Laos, and the Philippines. After the close of entries, Bhutan were allowed to enter and were included in the Asian preliminary draw, while Brunei and the Philippines had their late entries rejected. However, 5 teams withdrew during qualifying without playing a match: Bhutan, Central African Republic, Eritrea, Guam, and Sao Paulo. Copyright and PRA NCIPE. In addition, Papua New Guinea failed to meet the registration deadline for the South Pacific Games and took no part in qualification. Qualified teams. The following 32 teams qualified for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. 1. The rankings are shown as of October 16, 2009. These were the rankings used for the final draw. 2. Germany between 1951 and 1990 is often referred to as West Germany, as a separate East German state and team existed then. 3. Competed as Yugoslavia from 1930 to 1938, SFR Yugoslavia from 1950 to 1990, FR Yugoslavia from 1990 to Euro 1998, and Serbia and Montenegro for 2006. First appearance as Serbia. 4. Competed as Czechoslovakia from 1934 to 1990. First appearance as Slovakia. 5. No official third-place match took place in 1930 and no official third place was awarded at the time. Both United States and Yugoslavia lost in the semi-finals. However, FIFA lists the teams as third and fourth respectively. Qualification process. The qualification process commenced in August 2007 and was completed in November 2009. An initial draw for preliminary qualification had been announced for Zurich on May 28, 2007, but none was held. Initial groups for the Oceania qualification were eventually held in Auckland, New Zealand in early June, with preliminary draws for the Asian and African qualification announced in August. The draw for the main 2010 World Cup qualifying groups was held in Durban, South Africa on November 25, 2007. 34 teams had been eliminated before the actual draw: Euro 6 from OFC, 5 from CAF and 23 from AFC. Euro and CONMEBOL qualification also had started. The 4 remaining teams from OFC had also started playing the final stage as a single group, and no draw was needed. Therefore, the draw of November 25 involved 156 FIFA members from the original 205 entries, divided as follows: UEFA Euro 53 entries in draw. CAF Euro 48 entries in draw. AFCA Euro 20 entries in draw. And CONCACAF Euro 35 entries in draw. The distribution by confederation for the 2010 World Cup was: Europe 13 places, Africa 5 places, Asia 4.5 places, South America 4.5 places, North, Central American and Caribbean 3.5 places, Oceania 0.5 places. UEFA and CAF had a guaranteed number of places, whereas the number of qualifiers from other confederations was dependent on playoffs between the highest-placed teams in the qualification tournaments, not guaranteed a place in the finals, with CONCACAF's fourth-place team facing CONMEBOL's fifth-place team, and AFC's fifth-placed team facing the winner of the OFC. As the host nation, South Africa qualified automatically. As in 2006, the current cup holders Italy did not qualify automatically. Tiebreakers. For FIFA World Cup qualifying stages, the method used for separating teams level on points is the same for all confederations, as decided by FIFA itself. If teams were even on points at the end of group play, the tied teams would be ranked by goal difference in all group matches, greater number of goals scored in all group matches, greater number of points obtained in matches between the tied teams, goal difference in matches between the tied teams, greater number of goals scored in matches between the tied teams, drawing of lots, or a play-off. This is a change from 2006 FIFA World Cup qualification, where results between tied teams was the first tiebreaker. Confederation qualification processes. Africa. 53 teams competing for 5 berths, host South Africa occupying a 6th berth. The CAF qualification process began with a preliminary round played on October 13 and November 17, 2007 to narrow the field to 48 teams, and then 12 groups of 4 teams were drawn in Durban in November 2007. The 12 groups winners and 8 best runners-up advanced to the next stage. The procedure was complicated due to 2 of the groups being reduced to just 3 teams due to the withdrawal of Eritrea and the exclusion of Ethiopia. As a result, the comparison of the 12 runners-up did not include results against teams finishing 4th in 4-team groups. The remaining 20 teams were placed in 5 groups of 4 teams at a draw held in ZAR 1/4 on October 22, 2008. The winners of these groups qualified for the World Cup finals. The qualifying competition for the 2010 World Cup was combined with a qualification process for the 2010 African Cup of Nations. Since South Africa was hosting the World Cup, it automatically qualified for the tournament, although it played in the qualifiers themselves to facilitate the use of the same set of qualifying matches for the 2010 African Cup of Nations. Had South Africa advanced to the 3rd round, their matches would not have been counted in determining who advances to the World Cup finals. However, South Africa were eliminated from the qualifiers after the 2nd round. This meant that they could not qualify for the African Cup of Nations, and all matches in Round 3 counted towards World Cup qualification. Final positions. In Group C, Algeria and Egypt finished with identical overall and head-to-head records. A tie-breaking playoff was contested on November 18, 2009 in Sudan to determine which team would qualify for the 2010 FIFA World Cup, with Algeria prevailing 1-0. Asia. 43 teams competing for 4 or 5 berths. A playoff against OFC determines which confederation gets the extra berth. 2 preliminary rounds narrowed the field from 43 to 20 prior to the group stage draw in Durban on November 25, 2007. The group stage draw divided the 20 remaining sides into 5 groups of 4, which were played from February to June 2008, from which the winners and runners-up advanced to the final group stage. The winners and runners-up from 2 final groups of 5 nations will qualify automatically for the World Cup finals, with the 2 third-placed sides playing off in September 2009 for the right to compete against the Oceania winner for a final qualification spot. The knockout preliminary rounds themselves were somewhat unusual, with all 38 AFC sides that did not qualify for the 2006 World Cup playing in the first knockout round, but the 11 best-ranked winners from that round receiving byes in the second round. Final positions. Playoff for 5th place. 2-2 on aggregate. Bahrain advanced on the away goals rule to the AFC-OFC playoff against New Zealand, the winner of the OFC zone. Europe. 53 teams competing for 13 berths. The European qualification game started in August 2008 after Euro 2008. 8 groups of 6 teams and 1 group of 5 contested the European qualifying competition. As a result, the 9 group winners qualified directly, while the best 8 of the 9 second-placed teams contested home and away playoff matches for the remaining 4 places. In determining the best 8 second-placed teams, the results against teams finishing last in the 6-team groups were not counted for consistency between the 5 and 6-team groups. The first round was completed on October 14, 2009. A draw for the second round was held in Zurich on October 19, with the matches played on 14 and 18 November. Final positions. Second round. The second round was contested by the top 8 runners-up. With one group having one team fewer than the others, matches against the 6th-placed team in each of the other groups were not included in this ranking. The draw for the second round playoffs was held in Saar 1/4 on October 19, and the matches were played on 14 and 18 November 2009. The 8 teams were seeded according to the FIFA World Rankings released on October 16. The top 4 teams were seeded into one pot, with the bottom 4 teams seeded into a second. A separate draw was conducted between each match-up to decide who would host the first leg. France, Portugal, Greece and Slovenia qualified for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. North, Central America and Caribbean. 35 teams competing for 3 or 4 berths. A playoff against CONMEBOL determines which confederation gets the extra berth. The CONCACAF qualification process is identical to that for the 2006 FIFA World Cup qualification, except that as Puerto Rico competed this time, there were 11 matches instead of 10 in the first preliminary round, and thus 13 teams instead of 14 received a bye to the second preliminary round. The 2 preliminary rounds, played in the first half of 2008, reduced the 35 entrants to 24 and then 12 teams. 3 semi-final groups of 4 were played between August and November 2008, with the top 2 in each group advancing to a final 6-team group held during 2009. The top 3 of this group qualified for the World Cup finals. The 4th-place team advancing to the playoff against the 5th-place CONMEBOL team. Final positions. Honduras advanced on goal difference tiebreaker. Costa Rica moved to the CONCACAF CONMEBOL Intercontinental Playoff. Oceania. 10 teams competing for 0 or 1 berth. A playoff against AFC determines which confederation gets the extra berth. Tuvalu also played in the qualifying tournament, but was not an entrant to the World Cup qualification. The qualification process began with a tournament at the 2007 South Pacific Games in August 2007. The top 3 joined New Zealand in a 4-team group, which was also the 2008 OFC Nations Cup, playing home and away. The winner would play a home and away playoff with the 5th-place Asian nation for a World Cup berth. Final positions. New Zealand advanced to the AFC-OFC playoff, against Bahrain, the 5th-placed team of AFC. South America. 10 teams competing for 4 or 5 berths. A playoff against CONCACAF determined which confederation filled the extra berth. The CONMEBOL qualification process again featured a league system for a single group of 10 associations, with matches played from October 2007 to October 2009. The fixture list was identical to that used in the qualification for the 2006 FIFA World Cup. To limit the amount of travel by European-based players to South America, CONMEBOL's schedule used 9 double match days. The top 4 teams qualified for the World Cup finals. The 5th-place team advancing to a playoff against the 4th-place CONCACAF team. Final positions. Interconfederation playoffs. There are 2 scheduled interconfederation playoffs to determine the final 2 qualification spots to the finals. The ties themselves were not drawn, but were allocated by FIFA as AFC 5th place v OFC winner, CONCACAF 4th place v CONMEBOL 5th place. The draw for the order in which the matches will be played was held on June 2, 2009 during the FIFA Congress in Nassau, the Bahamas. AFC 5th place v OFC winner. The winner of the OFC qualification tournament played the winner of the playoff between the 2 third-place teams in the AFC qualification round 4. New Zealand qualified for the playoff by winning the OFC competition in September 2008. Bahrain qualified for the playoff by winning the AFC 5th-placed playoff in September 2009. New Zealand won the playoff and qualified for the 2010 FIFA World Cup on November 14, 2009. CONCACAF 4th place v CONMEBOL 5th place. The fourth-place team in the CONCACAF qualifying fourth round played off against the fifth-place team in the CONMEBOL qualifying group. Uruguay won the playoff and qualified for the 2010 FIFA World Cup on November 18, 2009. Qualification controversies. Controversy surrounded several of the final qualification matches in November 2009. In the second leg of the playoff between France and the Republic of Ireland, French captain Thierry Henry, unseen by the referee, twice illegally handled the ball in the lead-up to the decisive goal, which saw France make the final 32 teams ahead of Ireland. The incident caused widespread debate on FIFA fair play, and how matches should be refereed at the highest level. The Football Association of Ireland requested a replay on grounds of fairness, but this was denied by FIFA under the laws of the game. A widely reported later request by Ireland to be included as an unprecedented 33rd World Cup entrant was later withdrawn by the FAI, and dismissed by the FAI as peripheral to their other more substantial petitions for change in world football made to FIFA. Costa Rica also complained over Uruguay's winning goal in the CONMEBOL Euro CONCACAF playoff. There was crowd trouble around two matches between Egypt and Algeria, with the Algerian team bus-stoned before the first in Cairo, and reports of Egyptian fans ambushed after the second in Khartoum, Sudan. Local media made lurid reports, and diplomatic relations between the countries nosedived. In response to the incidents during qualification, and to a match-fixing controversy, on December 2, 2009 FIFA called for an extraordinary general meeting of their executive committee. After the meeting, FIFA announced that they would be setting up an inquiry into technology and extra officials in the game, but they did not announce the widely expected move of fast-tracking the introduction of goal line referees' assistants, already being trialled in the Europa League, and instead restated that the competition in South Africa would be officiated as before, with just one referee, two assistants, and a fourth official. On the subject of fair play, FIFA President Sepp Blatter said, "I appeal to all the players and coaches to observe this fair play. In 2010 we want to prove that football is more than just kicking a ball but has social and cultural value. So we ask the players please observe fair play so they will be an example to the rest of the world." Notes: since the inception of the World Cup preliminary competition, several teams have gone through qualification winning all of their matches. Though, during the qualification process for 2010, Spain set a new record by doing this on a 10-game schedule. Netherlands won 8 games out of 8 to qualify for the World Cup, something only West Germany had achieved before, during the World Cup preliminary competition for 1982. Brazil won their 6 games on their way to World Cup 1970 and managed then to win all of their 6 games in the final competition. Goal scorers: 12 goals, Momauni Dagano, Osive Katalize, 10 goals, Humberto Suazu, Theophanes Geekas, 9 goals, Eden Dar 3/4 Eco, Luis Fabiano, Samuel Eto'o, Wayne Rooney, Sul Saramon, 8 goals, Razak Omatoyosi, Jokwa N. Botaro, Fra copyright Dow copyright Rick and Outler copyright, Shane Smeltz, Rudis Corrales, Sarayut Chakamdi, Maxim Shatskik, references. External links: 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa matches and results at FIFA.com, live preliminary draw.